Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. Just waiting. Just waiting for people to see. Okay. Hi, Kiki. Alright, so hopefully Nohemi gets to join us pretty soon. Hello. I'm so excited. Hi, Kiki. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. We're just waiting for her to join. Okay, here we go. She just came on. Okay, so now we just wait. Hi, Louis. All right, there she is. Hi, Nohemi. This is so exciting. It's real now. It's happening. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us in this artist talk this afternoon. My name is Brennan. Hopefully this will be the first of many artist talks that we're going to do. And today I'm happy to introduce to you my lovely friend Nohemi Santoyo, Nohemi Ramos Santoyo, who was born in Michoacan, Mexico, and moved to the United States when she was 5 years old. She currently resides in Santa Ana, California, and she obtained her AA degree in art history from Santa Ana College and her BFA from California State University in Long Beach. So let's start the interview. So excited to have you, Nohemi. Okay, so our first question is, what inspired you to create art?
Okay, so like you were saying, I was born in Michoacan, Mexico. I was born in a little pueblito with no running water and dirt roads, and mostly just like a lot of just animals, a lot of fields, a lot of nature. So I grew up from 1 to 5.5 in Mexico alongside a bunch of animals and fields and everything. And then when I came here to the United States, it was just a lot of buildings and no animals and nothing like that. So I think that it was that I started making art like a coping mechanism, as a way to find peace within myself. I think that I think I didn't really know why I was doing it or why I started to do it. But now that I'm older, I can recognize that it was out of like a need to go back to what I knew, what was familiar to me. So, like I said, like I grew up with geese and cows and cats and dogs and oh my god, like coyotes and horses and donkeys and like all of these crazy things. So I think that it was just like a big change. So now that I am older, I can recognize that that's where it was coming from. That it was a need for me to go back to nature and create art, focusing on the land and nature, and it's just a way to find peace within myself too.
Um, yeah, what a great intro. Okay, and then our following question would be, when you dis from your family and friends?
I think that I got kind of pushed into it very early on. Freshman, I was allowed to be photography class. It was like three of us, so they kind of let us slide. So by the time I was a junior, sorry, by the time I was a sophomore, I was already in honor classes for seniors and juniors. So by the time I was a senior, I was like the photography teacher's TA. So I was kind of like the teacher's assistant in photography, helping other students and stuff. So I think that they kind of just, I slid right into it, and it kind of like, I had a lot of teachers, a lot of instructors. I had the YMCA and everybody that was part of that, just kind of pushed me, and they were all very supportive. I also got a lot of scholarships to go to college, to go to Santa Ana College, and then a lot of scholarships to go from Santa Ana College to Long Beach. So that was also a huge help. And I think that without like the support of so many teachers and like the after school program and Think Together, the YMCA, like all that stuff, I probably wouldn't have um, followed through just because financial need or anything like that. So I think that it was like something that was like that I'm super grateful for, that I had a lot of support from a lot of people, including my parents.
Awesome. And so when you went to school, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about the schools you attended to and your experiences while you were in school.
So I transferred from Century High School to Santa Ana College, which is a community college, which I would really recommend a lot of people do, just because you save a lot of money and you take a lot of the same classes that you do when you go to university. And then I had a lot of great opportunities there. I have, I think maybe two of my photographs in permanent residency at Santa Ana College. I got to work with amazing artists. I got to help an artist called Carlos Gallejo have his exhibition at Santa Ana College. I was part of a couple student art shows. And then when I transferred to Cal State Long Beach, I had a lot of opportunities there too. A photograph of mine got into President's House, which is the president of the university, not the states. Was just at her house, and a lot of people from the district and the state would come and visit her, and then my photographs would be there. That was my first year, and then this following year, I got my other piece in there, and that was like the centerpiece of the house. So I had two of my pieces in her house 2 years in a row. So again, a great opportunity for me. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, really good.
Yeah. Awesome. And then I think we spoke about this earlier before when we were prepping about this. So when you were in Cal State Long Beach, did you feel that there was space to venture out in different mediums once you transferred from Santa Ana College?
I think that a good thing about community college is that you have a lot of wiggle room, so you can go and go into a lot of different electives and kind of what you want to focus on and what you want to work with. But once you get to university, first off, it's very competitive to even be able to get into Cal State Long Beach. Let alone their photo program is also very very competitive. And apart from being able to be part of the very few people who get accepted into the photo program, they accept even fewer people into the Bachelor's of Fine Arts project while they're there. So luckily, I got accepted to both right away, which is, I think it was only like 2 or 3 other people from my classes that were already accepted right away before entering the university. So I think that once you get in there and you already have a major in mind and you already have all your classes set, it's very hard to venture out and explore other disciplines or a different art, just because you already have so many classes you need to take, and they take up so much of your time. So if your entire day is literally at the university and you have to take all of these demanding classes that are demanding in time, so they take up a lot of your time, you really don't have time to venture out and try printmaking or sewing or anything like that. Or I really want to take ceramics again. It's something I couldn't do just because, again, like jewelry making, everything, it's time consuming. And also if you're already taking 9-12 units, it's really hard to take anything more than that. And also the financial need, if you have to go to school and you have to pay for your tuition, and it's a lot, and then you also want to take extra classes while you're at it, it just adds up to your overall bill of your tuition, and every class you have to take. Also, you have to spend a lot of money. So for prints, for projects, they all take up a lot of money. So also, just if you can't afford it, that would be my answer too. Like honestly, like sometimes I had more time where I could get away with maybe taking one more class, but it's just the money that you have to put up front to take the class, and then for the equipment, for all that for each project, it is a lot of money that not a lot of people can do.
Yeah, and I think that's what we talked about, that it can be really hard, especially because when you transfer, it's kind of expected that you already know what you're going to go into, and there's very little wiggle room to venture out into new mediums unless you have the money and financial support, like you said. So what did school prepare you for?
I think one of the things it prepared me for was definitely to have my own art exhibition. So before, I've had a couple art exhibitions within Santa Ana College, within Long Beach, and also here in Santa Ana, in the city of Santa Ana, in the Artist Village. So me and my friend, we just opened up our art studio, which is this right here. Kind of like looks a little blank, but yeah. So we just opened our art studio here in downtown Santa Ana in March. So it kind of taught me how to have the whole exhibition. I knew what to do, from flyers to labels to how to hang things, how to frame things, everything. So that really came into hand on being able to open my own art studio and then have our own art installation or our own art exhibit without needing any outside help or anything like that. So that's what it really helped me for.
Yeah, good. And then the follow-up question for that is, what did school not prepare you for?
So I think that there's like a big disconnect between the jobs that are offered once you leave school and the things that they prepare you for. So a lot of this, if you go once you graduate, if you go online and try to find a lot of these high-paying jobs or a lot of these jobs, they usually want either like a photography and digital media experience, or photography and film, or somehow a combination of a graphic design and photography. And I think that that's not something that you really are really focused on. So once I went for my bachelor's of fine arts, what the main focus was fine arts. So the art side of photography, but it wasn't really taught. Business is not taught at all in photography. When you get to the higher levels, especially if you're doing fine art. If you go into commercial photography, that's a whole different college and a whole different set of rules. So you kind of need to know right off the bat what kind of photographer you want to be, because you can't go into an art school and expect to learn commercial photography. You can't be expected to be taught business and anything like that because it's fine art. So that's something that I learned, and I kind of wanted them to kind of step up their techniques, because it's kind of very old school. So photography is photography, digital media is digital media, and film is film. So while we did take two, I think, classes for film, it's again, it's not the same. And again, we're not taught business, we're not taught how much to charge for photo shoots, or how much to sell our prints for, or anything like that. There is a big disconnect between what you learn in school and what you're expected to know in the field to get hired. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And definitely wish that when I was in school, I learned a little bit more about, like, hey, once you amount of money or this amount of money. I remember I had a professor that kind of said, a professor can't how much your art is worth. You have to do that, but it's not really something that, you're told, like, oh, this is how much it should be. This is how much it should be. It's kind of expected that you have to know. But I agree with you. I think there should have been a class or someone that would tell artists, like, it's okay if you're nervous to price it high because you're art, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my next question is, what is it like?
I can hear you.
Oh, sorry. Uh, the connection's bad. Better. Hello.
Yeah. What did you say?
Is this a little bit better?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, my next question was, what is it like to be a artist in a mostly male-dominated field?
I think that it's very important to distinguish in what part of photography and what part of the field you're talking about. Because fine art, like I said, once I went into when I went to university, the majority of the students are females. So a lot of the fine art is a lot of females. I think sometimes we had like 3 male students to like 15 female students. But when you go to community college and it's at the more entry level, it's kind of a mixed bag of both. But for the major part, for any of the fashion photographers, any of the portrait photographers or family photographers, they tend to be male. And I remember that the director of art in Santa Ana College kind of told me, like, hey, I know you're pursuing this career, so I just need to tell you that that it's mainly a boys club. So I didn't really know what that meant, but I think now you kind of get a sense that photography outside of the art world, outside of fine art, and more into um, fashion, more into portraits, more into amateur. I don't want to say amateur, but more like commercial is mostly male dominated. And I think that sometimes you miss out on opportunities because you're female, whether that's because you feel uncomfortable going out into far distances to collaborate with male photographers by yourself. Like I said, I travel a lot and I usually go with my fiance. But I do recognize that I did miss out on more than a couple opportunities to work with different artists or different photographers because you just never know. And I think that that's something that goes for any profession, but also again for models, for photographers, for anything like that. I just saw that last week they just had another incident of sexual harassment at one of the photo meets here at Santa Ana, I think Lightworks. So again, that's something that you kind of have to watch out for. Like I said, I've had a photographer who was like, "Oh, I have all of these opportunities. And I could have made a good amount of money working for him or working with him and doing all of this, but it turned out like having him sent me like selfies and stuff. So I think that that's when I was like, okay, I don't care how much money I might make or what opportunities it might bring. I think that if you're a female artist, you have to kind of draw the line to see where you're willing to step and where you're not. And I think that sometimes, even if they have the right intention, I think that sometimes it's just better to be careful than to be sorry. Especially if you're going out to like long distances, especially if you're doing night shoots, especially if you're going out with people who you don't know. I think that's very important. And that doesn't just go for photography; that's also for painting, for drawing. Like I said, I had also a male painter who's was established, and he just like was asking for female nudes to paint nude portraits, which he's a legitimate photographer. I mean, a legitimate painter, and he's really good. But at the end of the day, you just don't know. So I think that that's something that does hinder kind of your growth as a photographer if you're a male, if you're a female, just because it's just such a male dominated field. And I think that you just have then male photographers. So again, that's just the reality of it in any field. Um, so yeah, I don't think I can say anything more than that. But yeah, just you just gotta be careful, do your research, careful who you work with, and yeah.
Yeah, you pretty much covered it all. I was gonna chime in on something, but you pretty much took hello? Trouble with connection. Hold on. Yeah, I saw Danny put an ear, so he can't hear. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was gonna say I wanted to chime in on something that you pretty much said everything perfectly, because it's so hard. It's sometimes difficult to be a woman in the field, and like you said, not just a photographer, but a painter, any medium as well, because for some reason, males don't really have to worry about harassment because it happens to women the most, and it doesn't happen to either, but we mainly hear just women getting sexually harassed over like paintings and photographs. So I'm really glad you brought all that up. And so we're coming up to almost the end of the interview. So now I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about your art projects and stuff they're working on right now.
Okay, so one of the projects that I'm working on is actually it's a projection, but I was trying to get it running, but you can't really see it because it's so bright outside. So I'm thinking that I will just talk about it a little bit. I'll show it a little bit on my screen, and then at a later date, I'll do a projection here sometime outside here in downtown Santa Ana, and then I'll probably post that up there. But it's basically, I started to record a lot of nature scenes from all over the United States as I go through my travels and stuff. I think the oldest clip I have from there is in 2006, so that was 4 years ago. But the majority, when I got serious about this project, was usually about 2007, 2008. So again, it's like going to be a couple 5 to 10 year project that I'm working on, and at first I didn't really know what it was coming out of. I just thought that I had my fine art, then I had like my portraiture, then I had like my landscapes and stuff, but I didn't really know the connection between them. But I think that I came out from the need that again, so I'm undocumented, and a big part of being documented means that you especially in 2013, where you could travel and where you could or could not go. So that means that you had these, like you were a prisoner of these barriers, whether they were your town or your city or your state. Um, Especially because again, if you're undocumented, then you don't have a driver's license or you couldn't attain one, which means that you couldn't go anywhere because anywhere you went, you were risking getting stopped and then getting a ticket or getting your car taken away because you didn't have a driver's license. So I think that this kind of came out of growing up and being told you can't go here, you can't go there. I came here when I was 5 years old with my parents, and I think from 5 till I was 16 or 17. No, actually, till I was like 19. I didn't leave the state, and when we traveled very little and only out of necessity. So I think that it was kind of a way to um, condition or to kind of break out of these barriers that were set upon us. So I started traveling outside of my state, and then each year I traveled a little bit more. I think I have most of the West already covered, from Nevada, Colorado, Wyoming, Oregon, Washington, Arizona. I think I have like 16 states already, but I make it like my little mission to keep going. So by the time this project is done, I'll probably have all like 52 states or whatever. But it's not just of like the video itself. It's is just very calming. It's a lot of nature. It's very little clips of just pieces of nature, pieces of animals, like little just pieces of bliss versus what is the actual meaning behind it, which is kind of going out of your cultural bubble that we live here in Santa Ana, in California, and going to these other states that you might have not known, or maybe if you don't travel, you don't really know where you're welcome and where you're not welcomed. And I think that it was a really big eye-opening experience to be able to go to other states, to be able to experience other little towns and rural areas where you're clearly not wanted, you're clearly not welcomed. And I think that's very important for everyone to experience, because I think that sometimes we get too comfortable in our culture bubbles and we, oh, racism is not that bad, or oh, it's not that bad, or it's, or people exaggerate. But then you go to these places where you just walk into a shop, or you just walk into this restaurant or this ice cream parlor, and you notice that just your existence alone is more than enough to make you not welcome into a certain place or with certain people. So yeah, so that's part of like the kind of like the meaning behind this project. But the project itself is like very just very happy, very calming, very zen, and just very naturey and stuff. So there's like a big disconnect between what you see and what the viewer experiences versus why I make it and what came from it, or why I'm making this art. And I think that's okay, because when I showcased this project for the first time, I think in 2018, I think, I had kids running up to the projections and pretending to run in place and trying to catch like the birds or the bugs or whatever that was on the screen, and they were just kind of having a lot of fun. But I think that that's okay. I think that from my travels, that's like the happiest little moments I get from them. But it's also important to note why I'm doing this or what's the meaning behind it. So yeah. So like I said, I was trying to have it projected behind me, but it's just too bright outside for it to show. So hopefully I'll have this projection up and running with all of the new additions to it sometimes this week, and then hopefully we can post that.
Awesome. And then did you want to show little clips on your laptop, or?
Okay, I'm gonna try to show just like a little
Yeah, of
bit.
course. Yeah, you can show for like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, up to you.
Okay, you tell me when, okay?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
We're doing really good on time, so.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try to like switch it back. And like I said, this is a project that is projected on like on the side of the building or something like that, or in a large area, so it doesn't quite feel the same on a computer screen. So I apologize.
Noemi, that was so beautiful. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can.
Okay, so I think I want to keep watching, but I know we have to like keep time. But that was so beautiful. Oh my god.
Okay.
It's
All right.
so beautiful. I
But
actually forgot about the time for a minute, and then I was like, "Oh snap! It's 3 minutes." I'm like, "It's okay, 2 more minutes is fine." But that is so pretty, and it's my first time watching it too, so I'm really glad that you saved it for now. So yeah, I like how you were giving a little bit of an explanation about what inspired this song, and there's more people joining, which is really great. Yeah, and I love the result. You talking about it, and I've heard you talk about it before, and then just seeing the outcome, it's really nice, and I really wish we could see more of it. But like you said, we'll wait for it for next time. And then we're almost done. So the second to last question I have for you is, how are you taking care of yourself physically and emotionally during this time?
Yeah, so it actually goes back to the same project. Every time I'm like starting to feel like super overwhelmed or super stressed, super like my anxiety's through the roof and stuff, I always tend to go back out to nature. So whether it's like a little day trip or a big one, well actually I couldn't have any big ones this year, but I literally just went swimming with sea lions last week, which is also going to be part
Mm-hmm.
of this project. So
Yay!
again, it was, yeah. So like a way to keep myself like not from going crazy, I literally just have to go out and either just go take a walk in nature or just get myself like out of the city kind of, and then just try to find like a little peaceful moment, which is kind of what this video is about too, like just kind of looking for all of these um moments in nature that are kind of idealistic, just because they are like so short. You don't get to see anything
Mm-hmm.
that comes after or before this. Sometimes there's like people, sometimes there's traffic, sometimes um, it's not so good experiences. But I think that it's just a little accumulation of like really small moments that are just like really awesome when you put them all together. So I think that again, like to keep myself sane, I just have to come back and I just work on my art. Thankfully, I've had my art studio right here. It is like the only thing that has been keeping me like a sane person through like this whole quarantine, because I couldn't really go, sorry, I couldn't really go outside of like my house. So I'd either go to my house or be at the studio here all day. But it's literally the only thing that like keeps me from
Yeah.
losing it.
Yes, nature and art keeps us sane always. Oh my gosh, I love it. And then the last question I have for you, before we ask whoever's viewing if they have any questions for you, is, do you have any advice you would like to give to artists?
I think that the biggest advice that I can give anyone is literally to just post your things, post your art, post your drawings, post your paintings, your pictures, whatever, however good you think you are, or however, if you think that it's not good enough, or if you think like, oh, it has to be perfect in order for me to post it or anything like that, just do it. It's something that I'm currently working on because I have like a giant archive of art that I just don't share. I just don't post. And I think that sometimes it's comes from having artists create artwork that's so personal to them that it's kind of scary to share to the world. I have a lot of my artist friends right here. I'm looking at you, that don't post all of their artwork or don't post enough, and I can't really. I struggle with the same thing, so I can't really say like do it, but please do it. Just post, just share it, share your art, whether you think it's good or bad. Um, if it's bad, then you're gonna improve, and if it's good, then you're only gonna get better. You know. So I think like the best thing, whether you're a dancer, an artist, a painter, a photographer, whatever, whether it's good or not. I mean, it's act of you doing it will only encourage you to do it more. Um, yeah, I think that's like above all else is just put your work out there, because there's no sense in making all of these work and then, well, I mean, you do find yourself like find like peace, but also I think that a big part of it is you have to share it out with people, with your friends, with your family. Share it with people outside of the art world too. There's a lot of we create that's solely for the art world and only the art world that we belong to, or part of sees it. But I think that it should be available to everybody, whether they're in the art world or not. Whether they're your friends who's a mechanic or a teacher or whatever. Like I think that everybody needs art, and that you guys need to post more. I need to post more. I know, I need to post more. But you guys need to post more too. So again, whether you're just starting or whether you're like have years in the making, like just post your stuff out there. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on the same boat as you. I definitely have to post more. I always hoard everything, and we don't do it like intentionally. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, I made art. I'll just look at it and I'll post it later. But then you don't post it, and then I don't know if this has happened to you, but what's happened to me is like I see people post stuff on their Instagram like, oh, I'm painting all these pots, or oh, I'm doing this, or I have this really cool idea, and then I'm like, I came up with that idea, but I didn't post about it, so obviously, who's gonna know that I thought about it if I didn't post it? But the person that actually posted it, it's like, oh wow, this is such a good idea, and I'm like, damn, I really got to get on that posting game. But yeah, I think every one of us as artists, like, we just kind of like tend to keep things like unintentionally, and I definitely my first guest on the artist talk, and then now we're gonna leave it open for questions. I think we have like 5 minutes for questions. So whoever wants to ask a question on the comments, you're more than welcome to, and if not, I have more questions for you. But let's just wait and see if anybody asks any questions. You did really good, Nohemi. You did awesome. All right, let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking now.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam also did my portrait for the flyer. So.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Sam. All right, let's see. How do you stay in touch with the art community? And that's from Solecito Loves You.
I talk to you. I think that a big reason why we got the studio here in downtown Santa Ana is because they're part of the art walk. So every month they have an art walk here in Santa Ana, in the artist village, where everybody just comes and gathers, and everybody hears an artist, or they're selling rings or jewelry or something. But unfortunately, thanks to the pandemic, we have had to shut down since the first grand opening in March. So that kind of really sucks, because that was gonna be like our big way to like kind of just get along with everybody here in the art community. But I think also the Spurgeon building, which is the building here in Santa Ana with the clock on it, the second floor that is the on is all artists. So I think that it really helps to, yeah, like we're artists in here. My friend Chris is right here. He's an artist, and then our neighbors are artists. So we all kind of stay late and work in art together. So I think that it kind of helps to see basically that you're not the only one, and you have just like a floor of artists. So it's kind of just, it really helps me just kind of stay in touch with the art community, or kind of just stay here in touch with other artists, since there's not really other options right now.
Yeah. Nice.
When is the next?
Yeah, Danny said, when is the next art walk?
The next art walk, I have no idea. They're doing a live art walks, but it's not really the same. We kind of just like gallery openings here every month, but to be honest, until this is over, I have no idea when it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and then Chris says we have Gente Night Market now. I
did see that. We have the Gente Night Market now. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that you guys did have I saw that you went there and you were part of it too. But I think it's harder to like display big works of art out there, just because we don't have like a tent, or most of these have to be nailed to a wall somewhere or framed and stuff. But actually, for the projection, I think that might be like a really good idea to bring my projection out there. So I'll get in touch with you because I know you were part of it. But hopefully, I'd love to. I just have a little mini projection of all the nature things that I just kind of showed a little glance at the Hinta Market. Sounds like a really good.
Yeah, and then Luis. Hi, Luis. Luis asked a question, and it's, do you come up with your project concepts? Good question, Luis. Thank you.
I know. I'm like, how do I? I think that sometimes it comes out of a need to create something. Sometimes you might not initially know why it is that you're creating something until maybe a lot later. Like I said with this project, I kind of just love nature, and I didn't really know why. And I just kind of started putting this little video clip together, and now it's been 6 years. I don't even know. 4 years. It's been 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years, and I'm still working on it. So I think that a way you create concepts, I think sometimes it's just you get an urge to create something, and I would just say just create it. like whatever you have in mind, just create it. And then as soon as you get deeper and deeper in it, you might start developing ideas and then start fine tuning the message behind it, or the meaning behind it. But I think that the first step is just to create whatever comes to mind, because I think a lot of the times we like want to stay here and think of an idea and then think of a concept and then make it. And I think that that kind of just hinders us to not make anything, because if you're just sitting here trying to come up with the next great idea, you might not create anything at all. It's easier just to create whatever and then have ideas develop from it, and then have a theme develop from what you're already making, versus you sitting here trying to make something from scratch. Oftentimes I would go back to pictures I've already taken and said, oh, look, like, I think I want to take this picture, but in this way, or let me think of a different theme for it, but I kind of like the location. Let me try to do this with it, or I like this model, but I'd rather do this other type of clothing, or things like that. I think a lot of times you also have to just improve on what you already have. So like, let's say I took some film of horses in Utah, but I didn't really like it. And then this time around, I went to Montana and there was all these great recordings of horses that I did. So I just scrap what I already made and keep what's better. Because you can't just stop like something and stop and then just say, okay, I'm done. You kind of just have to like see where it takes you. Yeah, I mean, try to develop it into something. Yes. Hi, Robert. I saw you. What? I can't hear you. I I hope they can hear me. Has your video process approach changed since you've been out of school? Yes. So I did this for a class. I did this for a project, and I think at that time it was only about 7 minutes. But now that I had that already started, every time I would go out and travel, I would purposefully look for clips that would fit into that video. So I would either think of a beautiful sound that I would hear, birds or animals or whatever, or a scenery or a sunset or anything like that. And I would just kind of think of how it would look like next to or into that video. So it kind of just also dictated where I would travel to and how long I would stay in each location. I think she's trying to say thank you for coming. Yes, right? You can't hear me? Okay. Well, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for coming. This was our first artist talk, so I hope it went well. I was like kind of panicking, but I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we have to go. But a little quick on artists making money. Make your money. Don't. Who cares? If you ask for a price, if they say it's too high, then oh well. You know. If not, if you think your art is worth a certain amount of money, then if somebody's not willing to pay for it, then they don't deserve your art. So I think that's it. I think Brenda's trying to say that we have to go already because we kind of exceeded our. You can't hear me? We're good. I love you. Oh my God. You can't hear me. I don't know what to say. But yes. So we're good. We're just gonna go. Yes. Bye. No. Let me type. Hey. We did. Whoop whoop whoop. Oh my God. Oh, see. They can hear me. Oh, you're gonna start another one? Okay, sure. Yes. Okay. Then end it. I'm just playing charades at this point.
Okay. Let's see. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Hey, yes, I can hear you. So that last part,
We had so
that
many
last,
flashing questions, and I was like,
I
oh,
know. They
yeah.
all came up and I was like, I can't hear what she's saying. But if they could hear you, I was like, okay, that's fine. They can hear
I
her.
think yeah,
That's
I hear you.
that's fine. You're the guest. I prefer they hear you, not me. Okay, so I think, well, since I started another one, I think we can answer the rest of the questions that people asked. I saw that Franklin, I don't know if that was his name on Instagram, but Franklin wrote, "How do you work on multiple projects at a time, or how do you stay organized?" I was trying to post it, but then it froze, so.
Okay. I think that when I was going to college, everybody was just kind of like sleep deprived, um, starving
Yeah.
children of the night, like surviving on coffee and nothing else. And we had multiple projects due for multiple classes months. Um, so I think that sometimes you with multiple subjects and
Yeah.
multiple meetings, and you kind of just have to just run with it. Unfortunately, it's better. Well, it's better to just focus one project at a time. But school wise, everything it doesn't stop. But now that I don't go to school, whenever I have free time, I kind of yeah, we're dead inside. Like when I was going to
Yeah.
college,
Yeah.
I have no idea how I look back and I was like, was I like I was just like sleep deprived, starving, coffee addict with like 4 hours of sleep. I would sleep under the table one time in
Or
the
sometimes 2 hours of sleep. I've been there.
yeah, like I can't even fake this. Like they know I was bad. Like I would fall asleep right next to the teacher. But hey, I was a good student. I always participated and I always did good work. But I would
Yeah.
definitely sleep. Um, but I think that once you're out of school, I think it's harder to make time in your daily life to make art yourself, just because you're already so preoccupied with work and family and responsibilities that you don't really always have time to create art, especially if your art requires travel. So I think that when I think I just have like pockets of just giant creativity versus every day, like a actual discipline of every day. So when I go and I travel, I always make a bunch of art, whether that's a lot of portraits or a lot of nature photography or landscapes, um, or abstract nature photography or film or black and white. I do it all at the same time. So like my second to last trip, I took my camera and my film camera. So I just create a bunch, and then when I come back, I have like hundreds of pictures to go through, and out of all of that, I make a project or I make a little series or I make this or that. But I think that everybody's different and everybody functions differently, so you kind of have to go and figure out what type of art discipline is best for you. If you can go into a studio or your room and say, I'm going to work on something from 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, then, go for it. But not everybody's like that. I know for sure I'm not like that. But again, like once I go out and I create a lot of things, I can come back to the studio, then I can be here from 8 hours and then create as much as I can with that time. But like I said, everybody's just different. So you kind of have to work with what you got and work with the time and the resources that you have as well. Because sometimes we have a lot of ambitions that require money or travel or time off, and sometimes we can't get all of these at once. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah, and then adding to what you said, I think also like environment has a big has a big part in that as well. Because I remember when I was in school, like you said, we have all these art projects, and you're sleep deprived, you're hungry, but you like bond because, like somebody said, you're all dead inside.
Yeah.
But I think the what I liked about it is that there was a space to create art, and then school was over, I had to find my own space. And sometimes it was very difficult to find a space, especially when you live with family, to just create that like safe, I call it like a safe haven for yourself. So yeah, just wanted to add on to what you said. And I think I'm not sure if Chris had a question before I ended the live, or I don't know if you remember if somebody else had a question on the other video.
This Chris or your Chris?
This Chris, the one that's on the live. Sorry.
Oh, I was like, this one right here. Let me ask him. Chris, you have a question? I don't know. I don't remember if there was.
I don't remember either. But yeah, I was. Yeah.
No, you're doing it again.
I don't know if somebody else has time, like questions, or I think
Okay.
2 questions for you. Yeah, Chris said
Yeah.
he's good. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, I think 2 questions. I think I have 2 questions. If not, after I ask the 2 questions, if nobody else has any more, we'll just kind of end the chat here. So my question was, since I haven't seen the video up until today, I really loved it, and I wanted to ask you if you were thinking about putting music or just kind of leaving it with the sounds of nature.
Oh, I definitely, it's supposed to be the sounds of nature. So whatever I go and I record, so you can kind of hear in the first, in the first, what, 3 minutes of it, but it's mostly just so you can kind of transport yourself into these locations and these places. Like, and it's harder to do while you're like looking at a computer screen and you're looking through it through a phone, but normally it's projected, so it's huge, it's larger than life, and it's on a wall somewhere. So have an ant that's like this little, be like this big on screen, or you have like a giant, I don't know, like giant trees and stuff like that, like more miniature size. So I think that once it's projected, you kind of have to sit there in that space and then just be like consumed and absorbed into the scenery and into the sounds as well. So I don't think that I'm putting sound to it ever. It just has to be the natural environment of which these exist in real life. Sometimes it's hard to get audio of these places just because it's super windy, or it's been raining, or it's just you hear cars in the back and stuff like that. But for the most part, all of these have the original sound of birds or wind or rain or whatever it is. Because I think that it just, once you experience it in person, it just makes a lot more sense than seeing through it through a screen, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Good, good. Thank you. And then the other question was, how did you decide to pick those specific clips for the video? And how long is the video? Because I don't think you mentioned that before.
Oh, I mean, that was only like 3 minutes of it. I think that when I first introduced this video to my college class, I think it was about 7 minutes long. And then when I had my first show here in my second show here in Santa Ana Artist Village here in the Core building, I think by then it was about, I don't know, maybe 9 minutes, 9 or 10 minutes. But right now, it's somewhere between 13 to 15 minutes. Just because again, I'm just like clipping and re-editing all of the new places that I've gone to. So once I finish with that, I think that it's already going to be like about a 15-minute video, if not longer, maybe 15. Yeah. But like I said, this is something that I'm going to continue on for a couple of years. So by the time I'm done, it might be video any place is only a couple of seconds. So yeah,
Cool.
so it's something, it's long. It's gonna be I decided early on that it's gonna be a long project. So there's no deadline to this. I'm never gonna finish it. But just like, oh, when you saw it when it was at 10 minutes, now it's at 15. You saw it when it was at 5, now it's at 20. So kind of like that.
Yeah, cool. And then how did you decide which clips to put on the video?
Um, I think that I kind of decide while I'm there. So while I'm in the space, while I'm in the nature, I go with the intent of finding these little places, because oftentimes they're different from photographs. So things I photograph are sometimes very different from the things that I record. So like there was one of it was like the leaves in the forest floor, and it was like the sunshine coming in and out. As a picture, it's honestly pretty boring, and it's not something that I would actually. It's not something that I would like post on my Instagram
Yeah.
or anything like that. But as a video, like I really loved it. So I just go out with the intent of finding little pieces of nature, finding little pieces or little moments where I just like tranquility within these nature spaces, and I just focus on that and I record that. And I usually record um, a couple angles from it or a couple different places, and I don't use everything that I record. I just kind of see the video and then kind of like puzzle see where they belong. And if I have a really good piece but it just doesn't fit, then I just won't add to it. Because the goal is not to just make a giant long video. It's just to
Yeah.
find these specific that I find important or that I have some sort of um, emotional connection to that I add to these.
Nice. Yeah, very good. I like what you said about the leaf when you see something and you photograph it, you're like, it's not that great, but in a video it gives it a totally different meaning. So thank you for that. And let's see if oops, sorry, my screen. Let's see if somebody else has one more question, and if not, we'll just end it right there. And I felt bad that it got cut off. Sorry. And then I couldn't hear you. I was so sad.
That's okay. They heard. Pretty sure you can go back in the live and hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody has a question, go ahead and ask it. If not, I think we're good. I think this was a really um, good start to the artist talks. I was super nervous. I was like, I'm like dying, but I was like, wow, back to me. But it's actually went really good, and I feel really comfortable, and I hope a lot of people enjoyed watching it.
No, me too.
So I'm
Yeah.
glad we did this.
I know, me too. I'm so glad we did it. All right.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it. No one's asking any more questions. Oh. Thank you so much, Noemi. I'll probably call you after this just to like
Okay.
talk a lot. But yeah, thank you so much, and then thank you for everybody who viewed it. Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm gonna end it right now.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.